I wanted to create this video because with my CPTSD, there was a couple of main things that really affected my life. And one of them was the panic attacks. The panic attacks, they made life so much harder than I think it had to be. But I've been having panic attacks for over 20 years on and off. But since my mum got sick and passed away, I had been having panic attacks every day. I was waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning with not the start of a panic attack. I was in the middle of a full-blown panic attack. And I have called an ambulance on more than one occasion, thinking that I was having a heart attack because they were so intense and they were so scary. And I think in my head I knew it was a panic attack, but then the symptoms it was just too much. It was way too much for me to handle. So I decided that I needed to stop the panic attacks because I couldn't function. I wasn't sleeping at night. I was too scared to go to bed because I knew I was probably going to wake up with a panic attack. I was too scared to get in the car and drive because I always got panic attacks when I drove. It didn't really matter how far I went, I'd end up having a panic attack. And yeah. It's hard to describe it. It's hard to describe how impactful panic attacks are, but if you have them, then it affects everything. It even affects my eating. I could have a panic attack about preparing food. I could have a panic attack about driving. I could have a panic attack about playing with my daughter. I could have a panic attack about walking out of my house. And of course, then the last 3 years hit, and I was already having panic attacks before that started. And then it's like a megaphone got dumped onto my panic attacks. And they were so much worse that I used to call the next door neighbor, and she a couple of times came over just to sit with me, because I didn't know if I did. There really were times I didn't know if I was having a panic attack or a heart attack. They really do feel, it really does feel like you're having a heart attack. So I sat on my driveway one day. I sat at the top of the driveway, and what I knew about panic attacks, because of the work that I'd already done on myself and because of how much awareness that I had around my past trauma and the work that I had been doing on my panic attacks, I came to this really clear understanding that my panic attacks were here because I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe in my physical body. I did not feel safe being human in this world of assholes. I didn't feel safe around my friends. Definitely didn't feel safe around my family. And there was this part in my brain that used to say, well, if my family can do what they did to me, then what could other people do to me? And it just created this foundation of nothing. I really got to understand that where some people have a base foundation because they had someone that loved them, they had one person in their life that believed in them, or they had one person in their life that supported them, or they had one person in their life that cared for them. I didn't believe I had any of that. So I did not have a foundation. So for me, I walked around just in this constant state of not feeling safe, this constant fear state of everything around me. And I didn't trust my friends because in the past, my friends have walked away. They have bullied me. My best friends in school ended up being my biggest bullies. And even friends all through my 20s, they ended up not talking to me. And in my 30s, they also ended up not talking to me. And people I was in relationships with were really emotionally abusive. So I did not have any safety net. And without that safety net, I just felt like I was constantly just, I don't even know if free falling is like, free falling just sounds like such a rainbow term. It wasn't free falling, it was plummeting to my death every day. I felt like I was plummeting to my death. And that level, that intensity of fear, I got really, really strongly that it was from me not feeling safe. And so one day I decided to go and sit on the top of my driveway, and I put my hands on the driveway and I took a really big, deep breath in. And I looked around and I went, okay, in this moment right now, I can see the green leaves on that tree because I could. And in this moment right now, I can feel my hands, my fingers on the concrete because I could. In this moment right now, I can see the roof to the house because I could. In this moment right now, I can feel my feet on the ground because I could. And then I started to dive a little deeper, and I'd say, in this moment right now, there is no one physically hurting me right now, because there wasn't. In this moment right now, there is no one emotionally abusing me right now, because there wasn't. In this moment right now, I can believe that I am safe. I looked at that knowing, yeah, I can believe in this moment right now I am safe. No one is here hurting me. No one is physically hurting me. No one is emotionally hurting me. I'm sitting here on the driveway on my own. I can believe that I am safe. That doesn't mean that I did believe I was safe. It meant that I could believe that I was safe. It took me a little bit. And I did this, it wasn't long, it was only 5 to 10 minutes each day for a little while, not long, maybe a week, until I then moved into, in this moment right now, I feel I am safe. And I felt that and went, yeah. And I did respond. I did respond to them when I said, in this moment right now, I feel my hands on the concrete. And then I would respond to that and go, yes, I can. So I would own that. I would say yes to that. I would agree to that. And then if I said anything that I didn't agree with, I could feel it. I could feel that I didn't agree. It's a difference between saying something that I felt I could agree with and saying something that I really couldn't agree with. And if I said anything that I could not agree with, then I went, okay, no, I don't agree with that. Okay. So then I would go back to, in this moment right now, I can see pink flowers on that plant. Yes, I can. Okay. In this moment right now, I can see that I am sitting here and I can feel the sunshine. I can. Yes. Okay. In this moment right now, I can see blue sky. Yes. Okay. And it was a process for me that happened over a couple of weeks. It probably was a week or two of me just taking 5 to 10 minutes each day to sit and say, but also I would then take that inside. So if I was washing the dishes and I felt like if I felt panic attack, so this is the second part, if I felt the panic attack coming up, then I would stop whatever I was doing and go, in this moment right now, I can feel the water on my hands. I can. In this moment right now, I can see the green grass outside as I can. Okay, great. In this moment right now, no one is physically hurting me right now. Okay, no one's physically hurting me. Okay, good. In this moment right now, no one is emotionally hurting me right now, as I stand here washing the dishes, as I stand in this space washing the dishes, no one is emotionally hurting me right now. No one's emotionally hurting me. Okay, good. All right. In this moment right now, I can allow myself to feel safe. Yeah. I could allow myself to feel safe. Doesn't mean I do feel safe, but I could allow myself to feel safe. So it was a very slow progression of, in the beginning, it was, in this moment right now, I could potentially feel safe. And sometimes I say, in this moment right now, I could believe that I am safe. In this moment right now, I could potentially believe that I am safe. So it was just this, each time, just going, I could, yeah, I could potentially believe I am safe. I could potentially believe that I can feel safe. I can believe that I can feel safe. I could potentially allow myself to feel safe. I can allow myself to feel safe. I can feel safe. I could potentially actually feel safe. So it's, for me, it was just this unraveling, being really acutely aware that there were really lots and lots of different parts inside of me that did not feel safe. And I believed that my way through was to admit that I didn't feel safe, and then was to admit that I could feel safe, and then come to a spot of, in this moment right now, I feel safe. And I did that everywhere. I did it in the car, because I knew that that was a big trigger for me. Driving was a massive trigger for panic attacks. So I would do it in the car. Before a panic attack came up, as I was feeling, because I know when a panic attack is coming, I could feel the feelings coming up. So I know when a panic attack is coming. And so I would, as I'm driving along, in this moment right now, I can see that red car right there. Yep, I can. And I would say something that I could do, I could see, because then I can bring it back into, yes, I can. And my body, my mind, the trauma parts could agree with that. Yes, I can see that red car. Yep, I can see that red car. Yep, we can all see that red car. And so it was easier for me that when I got all of these different parts on board with agreeing with the things that I was saying, then I could just very slowly introduce the safety into what I was saying. And it worked amazingly well, because now I don't have panic attacks. They have completely gone, because there is this part of me now that if that part inside of me starts to go, oh, I'm getting a bit nervous, there's another part that's jumping and going, it's okay, you're safe. It's okay. I know you're safe. It's fine. It's okay. We're safe. I'm safe. You're safe. We're all safe. And that has become an automated part inside of me that settles down the panic attacks. So I don't have them anymore. I don't feel it coming up. I don't wake up at night in the middle of a panic attack at all, ever. I had one probably about a year and a half ago. It would be a year and a half ago now, when we were driving to the beach. It was a completely new way to go to the beach. I'd never been that way before. It was an hour away from home. It was when driving long distances was a struggle for me. And yeah, that was really, really hard. And just to put it into perspective, I live in a country town, and the town is about 15 minutes away. But to get to a bigger town where we actually have life, I have to drive an hour that way and an hour that way. And that is long distance for me. And I found it really hard. But to bring it down to how far I have come with my panic attacks, about 3 weeks ago, my daughter and I went for a drive that was 6.5 hours south. And then we were there for 5 days, which I never would have done before, because being that far away from home was massively scary for me. Being away from my stuff. There was a time, a long time ago, where I wanted to go traveling, and instead of getting in a plane and going overseas, which would scare the shit out of me, I bought a car and a caravan. And so I could have my house with me. So I could travel with my house. So I didn't have to deal with that part of me that was terrified of being away from home, because otherwise I never would have gone. I never would have gone traveling if I couldn't have had a car and a caravan and done it that way. Yeah, so we drove for 6.5 hours down, not even a trigger, nothing. I was fine. I was expecting that I'd end up having to spend at least 1 or 2 days just resting. I didn't. We got there. As soon as we got there, we met some friends. We played, I talked, went to bed, fell asleep, woke up the next day, felt like it was great. I was fine. And I remember thinking, this is incredible. This was proof to me that what I had been doing had worked, because I think driving for me was so exhausting, because I was constantly battling with that voice in my head that was constantly going at me about driving, that was constantly going at me about just constantly afraid about being away from home and being in the car, and what happens if we have an accident, what happens if I die, what happens if my daughter dies. But none of that was a battle in my head. Every part of that, those parts inside of me that would have usually freaked out were they were calm. And then even driving back, I had decided to stay somewhere halfway just in case I needed to, because I didn't know if I would be able to do the drive back in one day after driving down in one day. And it turns out we got to Thursday morning and I got in the car and we drove halfway. We're about the 2.5 hour mark. And I just went, you know what? I'm fine. Let's just drive home. We'll just drive home. And so we did. I didn't want to stay another night. I did not want to unpack the car again and stay in another bed. I thought, no, I'm just gonna go. And I did. So I did 2 6.5 hour drives in the span of a week, when a year ago I couldn't even drive for an hour. So I wanted to share that story, because for me, it was a process that worked. Bringing myself into safety is what worked for me to stop my panic attacks. And I really wanted to share that with anyone that is struggling with panic attacks. I'm going to do something similar with flashbacks, because I also had flashbacks and they were really bad, emotional flashbacks. So I will share information on that as well. And if you need help or you've got any questions, just reach out. I'm here. I'm happy to share as much as I can if it helps your panic attacks come to an end, because I know how horrible they are. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.